again. It's a rich thing.
What's going on, everybody? It's the Bull Show, aka Aidan, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, another day, another critique, another criticism about a player on this Chicago Bulls team. As today, we're going to be looking at the most overrated players according to Bleacher Report in the last 10 years. Now, I'm not going to look at every other player. There is one Chicago Bulls player in there, and we're going to be talking about him today. It is DeMar DeRozan, ladies and gentlemen. Bleacher Report seems to have a very serious vendetta against the Bulls. They just don't seem to like DeMar DeRozan very much. So we'll talk about, I guess, my feelings on this and whether or not they have some sort of valid point or not. And to be honest, I don't think they have a leg to stand on, but time will tell, and maybe they'll be right by the end of the day. I purely don't think so. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bulls Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about whether or not you think DeMar DeRozan is one of the most overrated players in NBA history or in the last 10 years. That was basically what, to be fair, what Bleacher Report was reporting about. Over the last 10 years, DeMar DeRozan has been a very overrated player. That's according to them. Do you think that? And ultimately, if you really want to answer all time, do you think he's an overrated player there as well? So, it's important to note here, last 10 years, DeMar DeRozan has not been on the Chicago Bulls for the last 10 years, so I can't truly say from the Raptors' point of view and from the Spurs' point of view whether or not DeMar DeRozan has truly been overrated. As a basketball neutral at that time, watching as a Chicago Bulls fan, but watching DeMar DeRozan from the outside looking in, I still thought DeMar DeRozan was a very good player. I've always said DeMar DeRozan is a very good player. He's a very talented player. He's a unique player as well. There are not many guys that does what DeMar DeRozan does. So from a Toronto Raptors point of view, if you're a Raptors fan, you have more of an opportunity to answer that question from the Toronto Raptors side of things. If you're a Spurs fan, you have more of an answer based on what you've seen from DeMar DeRozan from the San Antonio Spurs as well. I can really only talk about from a Chicago Bulls perspective. But I'm not going to do that. I will talk about the Raptors side and I will talk about the Spurs side as well, because I'm going to formulate my opinion, and whether or not that may be seen right or wrong, that's really up to you. I can't really tell you whether or not from the Raptors and the Spurs I'll be right or wrong. But from the Bulls side of things, there is no chance DeMar DeRozan is an overrated player. DeMar DeRozan, ever since February was the date where he kind of fell off the MVP race. But you're telling me a Chicago Bulls player that averaged 28 points per game alongside close to 5 assists with 50% shooting from the field is an overrated player when the Bulls did not make the playoffs prior to that season, and now they were in the 6th seed, and for the majority of the time they were in the 1st seed. And DeMar DeRozan was leading the line for the Chicago Bulls. DeMar DeRozan was our leader. He was our number one guy, and all of a sudden he is an overrated player. On the Bulls side of things, there's absolutely no chance DeMar DeRozan is overrated. He had the best season of his career at 33 years old. That is an incredible feat for DeMar DeRozan, and it was not luck that got him there. Luck was not the big reason for DeMar DeRozan. He had an incredible season because his attitude shifted from last season to this season with the Chicago Bulls. He had a very big point to prove based on another ridiculous critique by Bleacher Report saying that he was the worst signing in free agency, which I still don't think they've retracted, by the way, but who really cares? It's Bleacher Report at the end of the day. I don't think they're going to really be bothered about what people like me think, but all things considered, that was a ridiculous take, and DeMar DeRozan had a very big point to prove. And in terms of the Bulls side of things, it's only adding fuel to the fire for DeMar DeRozan. I can bet that seeing this, and I'm sure DeMar DeRozan has seen it, and most Bulls fans have seen it, most Bulls fans have reacted to it, most Bulls fans have formulated their own opinions on it, I only think you're adding fuel to the fire. I think DeMar DeRozan is going to come out and have another strong season because there are still people continuing to doubt DeMar DeRozan as a player, as a teammate, and of course, his entire career now has been criticized by Bleacher Report basically over the last 10 years. So there's a lot to really uncover for DeMar DeRozan there. But from a Bulls point, he's only played 1 year. Far from overrated, in my opinion. He had an incredible year, incredible numbers, incredible playmaking numbers as well for a forward, incredible efficiency. He wasn't the best defender, but he's never been the best defender. We've got to be honest from that retrospect as well. But outside of that, DeMar DeRozan has been a fantastic player for the Chicago Bulls, and he still has 2 years to really prove his worth. And so far, I think he's been worth all the amount of money that we paid him in that first year. So let's see what happens in the last 2 years as a Bulls player. And time will tell whether or not he can deliver more or if he's going to be relatively the same. But either way, not overrated whatsoever. Talk about the Raptors side of things. I can almost, look, maybe I'll be wrong here, because I guess the reason why I think they consider DeMar DeRozan overrated is because as soon as DeMar DeRozan got traded from the Toronto Raptors and they brought in Kawhi Leonard won a championship with the Toronto Raptors. I really think that's where the biggest hate for DeMar DeRozan came from. The fact that they won a championship instantly after he got traded. I think everybody from the media side of things, not everybody to be fair, but most media kind of really turned on DeMar, saying that he wasn't as good as people said he was, or he was overrated, or that he was the problem with Toronto not winning a championship. And DeMar, I believe, said in one interview that he believes that with DeMar DeRozan on the Toronto Raptors, they would still win that championship. All things considered, that's obviously in hypothetical. We can't deal in hypotheticals here. But Toronto was a team that never really got success with other players in there. I mean, they've had good players, of course. They've had guys like Vince Carter. They had guys like Rudy Gay, who was very good for them at one time. They had guys like Chris Bosh. They had very, very good players on that Toronto Raptors team. But with DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry, that duo around that team, that's where they got the most of their success from. Yes, Kawhi won them a championship, and that's obviously going to be what's remembered by Toronto Raptors fans across the world forever. But DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry had a very long, continuous, and consistent ride together in the NBA playoffs. Yes, they got stopped by LeBron almost every single season. Yes, they never really grasped that championship level. But if you're going to put that on DeMar DeRozan as an overrated player, then I could guarantee you most of the league are considered overrated players, because LeBron James, alongside of the Golden State Warriors, for that period of time, stopped every single player. Does that mean Paul George is an overrated player? Because he got stopped against LeBron and he got stopped against the Warriors for most of the time. Does that make James Harden an overrated player? Does that make Chris Paul an overrated player? The fact of the matter is, even the best of the best players that we've seen in this generation has been stopped by LeBron and Miami, by LeBron and Cleveland, by the Warriors as well, by the Spurs back in the day. It's always been like that. So it doesn't really make sense to really call DeMar DeRozan overrated for the Raptors either, in my opinion, because that's where the most of their success came from as a franchise. I could be wrong. Maybe there's some knowledge that I'm just unaware of. Yes, I know the Toronto Raptors have had great players on their team, some of the best in the NBA. But the fact of the matter is, in terms of long-term success, it's really happened with DeMar and Kyle Lowry. And Rudy Gay at that time as well was kind of nurturing DeMar. That's how their friendship came together. That's where a lot of their success came from, in my opinion. And Toronto was a force to be reckoned with back then. For the San Antonio Spurs, was he overrated for the San Antonio Spurs? Realistically, I'm not too sure I could say he was overrated for the Spurs either. I think DeMar DeRozan was a veteran put around a bunch of young guys, and those young guys and DeMar DeRozan were trying to fight together. Now, I believe they didn't make the playoffs that entire time together, so maybe the Spurs fans would consider DeMar DeRozan as an overrated player. The fact that he kind of went into this team, the San Antonio Spurs team. There was a lot of young guys around them. Kawhi wasn't there anymore. They were in a very transition period, and they didn't make the playoffs together with DeMar DeRozan supposedly being that good of a player. Maybe Spurs fans would consider DeMar DeRozan overrated. I'm not too sure about that, because DeMar DeRozan learned a lot about his game in a different way with the San Antonio Spurs. He became a lot more of a point forward. He became a lot more of an assist man. He was able to help young guys flourish. In my opinion, DeMar DeRozan made a lot of guys look really, really good and get very much paid by the San Antonio Spurs. And I don't think you can really put that as a perspective of being overrated either. But again, it's because he's not what every other star is. It's because he's not shooting 40% from the three-point line. It's because he's not getting triple-doubles. It's because he's not getting Defensive Player of the Years. It's because he's not Giannis or anything like that. That's, in my opinion, why they consider DeMar DeRozan an overrated player. It's because he still uses the mid-range like an old-school level player. If Melo was doing this, in my opinion, if Melo was still prime Melo and you brought prime Melo into this day and age in the NBA, I think most people would consider Carmelo Anthony overrated if you're considering DeMar DeRozan overrated. That's how, in my opinion, serious it is. And I don't think anyone would call prime Melo overrated. They may question his attitude, they may question his desire to win, but he was a terrific player. And I don't know if Carmelo was overrated on the Knicks. I just think he just wanted to stay where he was. DeMar DeRozan is not overrated for the Chicago Bulls. He was not overrated for the Toronto Raptors. Maybe there's a small argument for the San Antonio Spurs, but that's my opinion. I don't think in any of those teams, DeMar DeRozan was really considered an overrated player. And the reason why Bleacher Report has once again targeted DeMar DeRozan, targeting him for the worst free agency signing, which is really ridiculous, and targeting him for being one of the most overrated players in the last 10 years, is because he doesn't do what everybody else does. That's really the only reason I can think of. It's an opinion piece, basically, at the end of the day as well. So look, they can have their own opinion. Again, it is what it is. It's another situation I'm not going to lose sleep over. But as Bulls fans, I think many people have kind of had enough of reading Bleacher Report and reading the disrespect that a lot of people seem to have towards our players, especially DeMar DeRozan. So we'll wait and see if DeMar can once again prove them wrong. He's going to have a big year next year, I believe. And we'll see where the progression lies. I think the most important thing is that, yes, DeMar DeRozan takes this as fuel, as he should. But we got to progress as a team. This isn't the DeMar DeRozan show. I would love to defend DeMar DeRozan constantly every single day for the backlash that the media seems to give him these days. But unfortunately, it's about the Bulls, and DeMar DeRozan is part of this Bulls team, and we work as a team now. The progression needs to be where we make our voices heard. Getting into the top 4 seeds in the Eastern Conference, maybe winning a playoff series this year, and maybe going further than what many people expect us to be. That's where our progression lies, and that's how I think every single player on this team will prove the media wrong, will prove everybody wrong. Let's not forget what the media said last time about the Chicago Bulls, something that I take personally more than any critique on an individual player. Media thought that the Bulls were going to finish 11th last season. That we were going to be exactly where we were with Zach LaVine, Kobe White, Larry Marketing, and that team. We were going to finish 11th. That's what they thought. And we proved them wrong. That means more to me than DeMar proving everybody else wrong. It's because it's a team game as well. So DeMar, I hope he proves them wrong. But most importantly, I hope this team can continue to prove people wrong. And that's what my fingers are crossed for. I hope we can do it. I hope we can prove people wrong and silence people once again. And that's what I'm looking forward to. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. Sorry if I went on a little bit of a tangent. It is what it is. I was very frustrated reading this, and I just can't believe they had the nerve to disrespect DeMar DeRozan again. You got to give credit for Bleacher Report for being, I guess, consistent and being, I guess, they don't let up, do they? If they have an opinion, especially some of the writers there, they're going to stick to it regardless of what people think or not. So you got to give them credit for that. They didn't backtrack. They still continue to think DeMar DeRozan is not as good as he is, and again, it's time for DeMar to continue to prove them wrong. Hopefully with another MVP caliber season to go with it. Have a wonderful and safe day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care and peace.